Well, the runners and risers, the Midland champion Georgina Campbell from Stratford-upon-Avon. City of Norwich might do well because they're top two at the Southerns, Megan Gadsby and Hattie Reynolds. And then the Northern champion Ella Greenaway from Cleethorpes. So that's what we kind of use as a bit of a gauge, but doesn't always work out that way in this sport. People pick up injuries, niggles and colds, and people don't start races, but that's where we think some of the medals may go.
It's one of the few races where they've rounded the corner really as one main pack as well, which is interesting to see. Some of these girls perhaps biding their time for a little bit longer. Not a bad move either with a much smaller field. It's nice to have company for a little bit more of the race. It definitely helps when you've got someone to work with rather than battling that wind all on your own.
Well, just as they came around that corner, the leader, Libby Huxley, was silver at the Northern Championships, the Preston Harrier. She's got the blue vest on with long sleeves, long socks, just at the top of your screen right now. She's 2.416. She's got a small lead at the front as they come down that hill. Always got to be so careful coming down the slope, Philly, and don't want to try and lose your balance or gain too much speed. It takes a bit of a battering on the old quads, doesn't it?
It does. You've got to be a little bit fearless though at the same time, because you don't want to be so cautious about going down that you lose a lot of positions during those parts of the course. You can see Alice Garner from Aldershot up there in that top group. One of my training partners from days gone by. She's a very hard-working athlete. Made her first GB team last year over on the cross. She'll be looking to return the team title to Aldershot this year. They do hoover up a few medals in the team standings, just being part of that club. Quite fortunate to have a lot of depth amongst the team.
Just how is it that Aldershot continuously pump out not just like 4 or 5 good athletes, but like 15 or 20, and there's always competition for places when you get to the road relay season as well. Like it's 3 or 4 teams, you're going down to the D team and you've still got somebody that could be in the top 5 of all the teams.
I do remember one year actually that our B team on the cross-country side actually beat the men's A team, which was a little bit awkward. There wasn't much between the boys, and maybe the team selectors got it a little bit wrong, but yeah, it's a club that's historically had a lot of depth, and I think people have asked me this before, it's difficult to put your finger on exactly what it is. I think they've got some great coaches at that club, Mick Woods, Tim Eglin, Trevor Reggett. Also, maybe there's something about the military background. A lot of the athletes, they're very dedicated to their training. That's just a theory. I think it also attracts a lot of athletes from nearby when you hear about Aldershot, and perhaps it's a little bit further to drive, but you know you're going to have some real quality training partners and a really good setup. That's maybe enough to drag some of the athletes away from the other clubs in the area, Basingstoke and Dorking and Mole Valley.
I was at Aldershot track probably 5 or 6 years ago. It was on like a Tuesday night. I turned to the track and they wouldn't turn the lights on. But a couple of hours later, I saw on the fields opposite the track and the stadium just hundreds of athletes running around. It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was really great to see.
Yeah, and we definitely did have hundreds at some of the club nights that I attended there. It's almost like doing one of these races sometimes at the start of a rep. Definitely gives you good practice of getting off the line fast, that's for sure.
Well, we've got around 15, 16 in this leading group at the moment, and they've just come round for the end of their first short lap. 6.32 kilometres this is, so they do one short lap and one longer yellow plus red loop lap. And we're just trying to ascertain some numbers here.
we've got Megan Gadsby up there, the City of Norwich athlete. She won the Bucks short course cross-country race last year. She trains over at St Mary's and also won the Southern Championships this year. She's in good form. She's got a teammate right behind her as well for Norwich City. So that's already 2 potentially finishing in the top 10 for Norwich, which puts them in quite a good place for the team standings. We've also got Lily Neat of Winchester up there. And Hattie Reynolds of Norwich is that other athlete who was actually second behind Gadsby at the Southern this year. Consequently also came second at the National last year. So she'll be looking to improve that for the gold today.
We've got the Northern bronze medalist from Harrogate, Eve Whittaker, in that leading pack. Ellen Weir from Hercules Wimbledon and Lily Neat from Winchester in that black vest. So a lot of athletes, as we mentioned earlier, coming from those regional championships in and around the mix at the moment. And this has been a conservative start to the race, would you say, Philly?
Yeah, I think so, and I think maybe there's a bit of tactics in there. Some of the athletes perhaps wanting to go out a little bit more conservatively and push hard. That would be great to see if someone makes a bold move with a couple of K to go perhaps. But even these athletes at the back of this group, looks like there's about 7 or 8 of them at the moment, not out of contention. Although as I say that, it does look like there's a couple just starting to drop off the pace.
Well, in that leading group is our silver medalist from 12 months ago, Ellen Weir from Hercules Wimbledon. Keep an eye out for her. Alex Millard, the champion from 2022. Above this age group now, had a pretty good winter and pretty good campaign over the last 12 months since the National. So Weir, and she'll be looking to try and do one better, and maybe Hercules Wimbledon can better their 3rd place team finish in the junior women's from last year as well. On to the second lap. Is this where it starts to hurt, or a bit too early yet?
Oh, I think it depends how hard you've gone out. Some of these athletes will be going backwards. Others might have saved a little bit from the start and run their race a little bit more positively. Going past people is a much nicer way to run, but you've got to have that control at the start of the race, which is difficult, and it comes with experience. And that's what we can see probably at the front end of this race. Still 10 or so athletes all in touch with one another.
It's a great group, and the bosses at City of Norwich will be pretty happy with this shot at the moment.
Yeah, it's great to see 2 of them in their matching vests driving the bus, if you like.
Just to the left of them in the blue with the black arm sleeves and compression socks is Libby Huxley, 2416, the Preston Harrier, silver medalist at the Northern Championships. This race 6.2 kilometres, which is actually slightly longer than what we saw at all of the 3 regional championships.
Just had a look. Libby Huxley actually came second at the El Goibar International this year, which is not an easy race by any means. It's one of the international opportunities for the younger athletes to go and represent England. There's some great cross-country races over in Spain and Belgium across the cross-country season. Good to get some exposure racing some athletes from elsewhere in Europe. And it's great that Libby finished second at that race.
Different challenge, Spain to the northwest.
similarities maybe today with the sun shining down on them. No logs to jump over in this race though. They love those over in Europe.
I'm sure people saw numerous clips of some of the logs at the Bucks Championships recently. Looked dangerous.
Had quite a few, didn't they?
Yeah,
all lined
looked
up.
dangerous. It's like a dog assault course rather than a cross-country race.
It's definitely got more extreme through the years. I can remember my last Bucks Championships was a home event at Brunel, and we had a little river for the athletes to run through, down and up the bank. It made for some great watching when people slid back down into the river, unintentionally.
Trudging through mud's what it's all about. There is Ellen Weir in that orange vest just on the outside.
Also got Beatrice Wood of the City of Salisbury up there with that group in the blue vest, just behind the two Norwich City athletes. She's just settling in 6th place at the moment. This group of 8 looking like they might be breaking away.
Get a sense that the pace might just be picking up. We're over halfway now. We're at that sort of 60% stage, and well, do you think the two Norwich girls have perhaps had a bit of a word and said, let's go on this corner, let's wait until this point?
I was wondering whether there's been any sort of race planning amongst the two of them. I mean, coming from the same club, being training partners, I'm sure they're friends as well as teammates. They will know that they're in a similar shape and perhaps can do some damage by working together and having a race plan that is kind of invested in one another as well. Of course, if it's the two of them that do end up breaking away, all of that will go out the window when they're fighting for that gold versus silver, but not quite there yet at the moment. They are leading this pack and they're doing a great job of it as well.
Sometimes a bit taboo talking about tactics with your teammate and potential competitor, because whilst it's an individual sport most of the time, it's also a team competition, isn't it? And actually, you know what, they can both run it in a way which will mean they're more likely to get a gold and silver between them rather than
Absolutely.
a gold and 4th.
Yep, definitely. And I mean, it depends how far back the next Norwich City athlete is, but getting a 1 and 2 punch would definitely be a nice start to a see a Norwich City athlete coming across our screen there. It's a little bit further back. Just to bring you some of the team results of the under 15 girls race that we just saw, it was Rotherham Harriers that took the win with 85 points. Liverpool Harriers coming in 2nd with 117, and Marshall Milton Keynes in 3rd place.
Course still looking beautiful here at Bolesworth Castle. If you're just joining us, this is the Saucony English National Cross Country Championships for 2023. This is the junior women's race. And we are coming towards the conclusion. We still have 7 athletes in the mixer at the front in this leading pack. Coming towards the end of this red section of the course where it starts to get a bit twisty, a bit technical, and the pace will certainly start to increase. We're probably around about 1,200 metres out, do you reckon now? Something like that, maybe a bit more, like a mile out from the finish.
Yeah, I expect so, and they are definitely turning the screw. As you can see, athletes are starting to drop off the back of this group. They're starting to stretch it out, and it looks like it's Meg Gadsby still at the front there. And Beatrice Wood from Salisbury rather, just splitting up Meg from her Norwich City teammate. These two might be starting to get a gap on the field.
Well, a few cheers for go on Lily. That'll be for Lily Neat of Winchester. She's just in the black strip, around about 5th or 6th, just trying to find her way through at the moment. Well, we know that's Herne Hill Harrier in the black and red. Just trying to work out who that may be, either Phoebe Bowen, Poppy Craig McFeely, Caitlin Hewitt or Heve Hunter. And I think that is Poppy Craig McFeely, T381. So she's in the mix, going well too. Dropping just off the back now is Ellen Weir at the moment. A Hercules Wimbledon athlete, silver medalist last year.
These two starting to definitely pull away now, fighting for their place at the front, followed by Libby Huxley leading the chase charge.
Well, Salisbury versus City of Norwich. Two teams from the south.
In fact, all teams from the south apart from Libby Huxley from Preston repping the north in this front end of the junior women's race.
Well, it could still be a gold and silver for City of Norwich. Got a bit of work to do to get to that point, and they're starting to just bob and weave their way to the finish. Whitaker in the blue of Salisbury. I love just hearing the occasional cheers from mums and family on the touchline. This is where it gets technical. This is a great shot from our drone on the course today, and it's tight. Having that inside line really important. You do need to work so hard. You don't want to lose your cadence at this point. Meg Gadsby, City of Norwich. Eve Whitaker, City of Salisbury. And then Winchester. Well, Beatrice Wood rather for City of Salisbury at the front in the blue, with Meg Gadsby just being chased by Lily Neat from Winchester at the moment. Here comes Aldershot as well. Don't count them out just yet for a team medal.
Yeah, Hattie Reynolds, Gadsby's Norwich City teammate, just drifting back. She's in 5th position at the moment.
Well, we can see our leading three. Perhaps too early to call just yet, but likely this is where the gold, silver and bronze will go. It's Neat, Wood and Gadsby. This is the hard part of the course. You get a sense of the finish. You know it's just out of sprinting distance. You need to keep on the pace. Got to stay rhythmic, and the breeze at this point, you can just see it by the banners. I'm surprised they've not ended up all over the shop today, because it's a tough part of the course.
Yeah, I'm sure some of the athletes wouldn't mind a windbreak out there today, but they are starting to separate. This is the point where you're not wanting to share the load anymore. It's getting to the 600, perhaps 800 metres to go of the race. And they'll be able to see the finish soon. I would say at this moment, Beatrice looks slightly more comfortable, but it's hard to tell sometimes. People have their own sort of race faces on, and that might not be anything to go on. The Winchester athletes just hanging on there as well.
Well, for all the wind, the firmness is certainly helping these young ladies out. It's at the point you feel you may want to just try and sprint for home, but you don't want to leave it too, or you don't want to go too early, and you don't want to leave it too late either, because it is these two athletes, Gadsby and Wood. Wood in the blue, just has the edge. Lily Neat has put herself into a fine position for Winchester. She had a look over her shoulder a couple of moments ago, and I think she senses she's on the podium at this point, but where's the gold and silver going to go?
And I don't think it's impossible for Gadsby to make up that gap at this point. They've still got about 200 metres going into the finish. Wood does look to be pulling away a little bit though.
Well, that is some break, and it is that corner as they go past the wooden shingles across the road that everybody seems to be stepping up the pace a bit. And Beatrice Wood from Salisbury in the blue vest pulling away from the Southern champion Megan Gadsby. And this would be some fantastic win for Beatrice Wood. The big group, it trickled down. Athletes dropped off one by one, and it was only Beatrice Wood and Megan Gadsby. But today at Bolesworth Castle in the National Junior Women's Cross Country Championships is Beatrice Wood, who's going to take the gold medal in fine style. Megan Gadsby, she gets the silver medal for City of Norwich to add to her Southern title. And coming through for a fine bronze is Winchester's Lily Neat. And what a race that was, Philly.
And it's a tough one for Gadsby. I do feel like she did a lot of the work, so she might feel a little shortchanged with that silver there, but just looking at her result from last year, she finished 10th at this race. It's a fantastic improvement to come second at the National.